They are going to have technology with them in their next phase of life. They're going to have it. They're going to be using it. They need to be taught the right way. And what an amazing opportunity we have in Christian schools to teach them the right way to use it.
I look at technology just like any other tool. Any methodology would choose, if a curriculum that would choose. Is it going to teach a biblical worldview? Is it age appropriate? We can ask, what can AI do? And then what should AI do?
Welcome to the BJU Press Teacher Edition podcast, where Christian educators are encouraged and inspired as we bring you interviews, practical ideas, strategies, and answer your questions about teaching in today's culture. And here's your host, Jenny Copeland.
It's time for another episode on the Teacher Edition podcast. Thank you for taking time to join us. As we get started today, let me encourage you to visit our website, teachereditionpodcast.com. The website has great information about the podcast itself, but also about our guests and the episodes. It's just a great way to share the show with other educators as well. You can either find the specific episode that you would like to share, or just share teachereditionpodcast.com with them. There is a whole library of episodes there. We are way over 150 now. That's a lot of episodes. And we just trust that they will be a blessing to Christian school educators around the world. You can also find us on social media, on Instagram and TikTok. We're Teacher Edition Pod. That's where you can find us there. We're also on YouTube, also on Facebook. Both of those are Teacher Edition Podcast. We are so honored to have Doug Lay with us for today's episode. So I had the privilege of first crossing paths with Doug last year, I think it was, at an event here at BJU Press. Then last summer, our paths crossed again at an AI conference for Christian educators. There, I was able to hear some of Doug's story, and I just really appreciated his wisdom and really what he contributed at the conference. I told him I would just really like to have him on the show because I just think he has some great experiences, and he also has that heart for Christian education. So I think you're going to be really intrigued by his story. I'm going to give you a really quick overview, kind of biography about him, but then I'm sure he's going to share more about it as we have our time together today. So Doug currently serves as the administrator at Victory Christian School in Sylva, North Carolina. Doug has a theology degree and a degree in pastoral theology. In addition to his work in Christian education, he has also taught in 2 Bible institutes. He's helped to start a church. He's also been a pastor. He continues even still to teach once or twice a year in a Bible institute in southern India, where they're training men and women who are starting churches in southern India. And I just love that he gets to be a part of that. Doug also has extensive experience in the area of technology. So I think this is really fun, and hopefully he'll tell you more of the story. But as I've heard it, in the 80s, he purchased his first personal computer. He became fascinated with technology. He self-taught himself to be a computer programmer, which is just amazing. That is no small feat. And then that just led to a career in software development. And then he spent over 30 years in the IT business as a computer programmer, a systems engineer, and a software architect. It's just an amazing story. And I think all of that, I guess, expertise, you could just say, he brings to his role in Christian education now. Anyway, he can tell us more about all that. Doug, it's just such an honor to have you with us on the show today. Welcome to the Teacher Edition podcast.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. It's my delight to be here. I really appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so I introduced you with just that very high-level overview of all your great experiences. But I wonder if we could just start there, because now hopefully all the listeners are intrigued. Can you talk with us a little bit more about your background and just tell us where you've come from and what brought you into Christian education?
Sure. I tell people sometimes, if you would look at my resume, you would not say school administrator. I mean, just I'm not an academic, and my experience, the direction that my life took throughout was interesting, as the Lord would direct each of my steps. But began, as you said, back in the mid '80s. I had a degree in theology, pastoral theology. I did help start a church in Oklahoma, and then I became an assistant pastor in Manhattan, Kansas, at a church there. And during that time there, I was principal of their private Christian school. And truly, that was just one of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had, spending time with those children and teaching them. I was able to coach basketball and flag football. and just really enjoyed that time with them, and moved my family to Virginia. And I got my first personal computer, and it was a ColecoVision Atom.
Ooh, and
They
probably this big, right?
Right. That's right. It was the size of like a large television. I mean, it was, and ColecoVision is known for their toys, but they made this computer called the Atom, and it was basically a glorified word processor.
Wow.
And so I bought it
Do you
to write.
still have it?
I don't.
Oh,
It
too
was,
bad. Wouldn't that be fun?
yeah, it could have been in a museum. I mean,
Oh,
it's,
absolutely.
but it had a cassette deck on it, and with it was a cassette of the basic programming language. And one day
Really?
I just put that in, and I was curious. I wanted to see what this was about. I didn't know anything about computer programming. And so I put it in, and it loaded, and up came this prompt on this black and white screen. And I looked at it and said, okay, now what? And so I just, out of curiosity, I bought a book on basic programming, started reading it and learning. And it was just a passion that developed over several years. And at one point, my wife would tell you she thought she lost me because I would, every night I'd be in there until midnight, playing with different things, and I would
Right?
be reading everything I could get my hands on. Never really dreaming that I would have a career in IT. I didn't go to school for that. Didn't have a degree in computer science.
Obviously have a
Um,
gift, though. Wow.
but I just became passionate about technology. I fell in love with it. And it was in 1987. I was in a small computer store in Manassas, Virginia, and I had an IBM PC at that time. It was the
You
first,
really stepped it up.
yeah, yeah, 10 megahertz, I think, speed,
Ooh.
super fast.
Oh, yes. Lightning.
Um, but it was there getting repaired. And so I went in to pick it up, and I was in there. And while I was waiting, I overheard a conversation with what I would learn later was the owner of the company and his secretary. And they were talking about the fact that they had a system they were developing for a customer, and their computer programmer had quit. So I'm listening to that, and I just, out of curiosity, I went and introduced myself, and I asked a few questions, and I learned that the system they were developing was in a language that I was actually working with and had been learning for the past 2 years.
No kidding.
So I said to him, I said, listen, I think I could finish that for you. And I'll make you a deal. If I finish it, if your customer is happy and you're happy, then you can pay me for my time. And if you're not, then no harm, no foul. And that's fine. So he agreed to that. And in about a 5-6 week period, I finished it. The customer was happy. He was happy. And he hired me on the spot.
Wow.
So that was my first job in IT.
All self-taught. That's
Also,
incredible. Wow.
but I did have a friend who was a computer programmer who helped me and gave me tips and things, but it was pretty much all just playing on the computer and reading and doing everything I could to learn it. So,
Wow. So that was the start of it. So then where did you go from there?
so from there, I worked for this company for about 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And then that company was a small computer company there in Manassas. It took a different direction and wasn't doing very much software development anymore. And so I was doing some consulting. We had a dear friends that we went to church with, and gentleman was the CIO of a fairly large systems integrator outside of Washington, D.C., and they did a lot of work with DOD and NSA and NASA. And we were on a bowling team with them. So one night we're bowling, and my wife says to Emerson, our friend, my husband needs a job. And so I said, thank you. And so,
Were you aware you needed a job?
no, I wasn't aware, but she
Okay.
told
Well,
me
now
I
you
did.
know.
So anyway, we talked, and he said to me, listen, I can get you the interview. I won't get you the job. You'll have to earn that. And he got me an interview with a project that they were doing for the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps logistics program. And I did the interview with a number of different people, and they offered me a job. And this was my first time in the big time, the big boys.
Yeah.
I went into that thinking, can I really do this? I mean, this is this is serious stuff. We're doing a Marine Corps logistics project called MACTAF-2, Marine Air Ground Task Force. And it is the system that whenever we deploy troops, it handles all the logistics for troop deployments.
Yeah, that is huge.
And they were hiring me to be the lead developer. And so I thought, well, we're going to find out whether I can really do this or not. And
Yeah.
I flourished. And
Wow.
it took off from there. My career did really well. But it was the Lord's grace and his help. And I worked hard, and the Lord blessed it.
That's incredible. That's amazing story. Okay, so how would you say that you're in Christian education, and like you said, some people, look at your resume and think, how do these collide? How would you say that your past experiences have impacted your current role in Christian education? Any connection there?
Well, one of the things later on in my career, I got involved in something called BPR, business process reengineering. And I would work with CIOs and CEOs of small companies and would help them do strategic planning, would help them modify and improve their processes. And in that role, we would look at strategic planning for the company and how are they organized? What are the processes? Are they effective? Are they efficient? We would help them to modify and optimize, and then automation. And you go back to the 90s, and through the 90s up to 2000 with the dot-com explosion and all that was happening there, everyone was automating. I mean, PCs were brand new. In the early 90s, most people didn't have a PC in the home. Nobody had cell phones.
Yep.
And
And very few of us remember those days. Like,
I know. I
this
tell my
generation has
students
no
that,
idea.
they look at me like, what? Are you
Yes,
cell phone?
exactly.
But everyone was automating. And one of the things we learned is that if you automate a process that is flawed, all you do is you help yourself do the wrong thing faster.
Yeah,
And,
very true.
and so the process improvement became very important.
Hmm.
And so learning those kind of things, I brought that to my role as administrator of the school to look at how's the school organized? What are we doing? What can we do better? And in that role in the IT business of strategic planning with companies, it's all about mission, very mission oriented, mission focused. And I think that's important for teachers as well. Keep in mind, what is our mission? At BCS, we describe our mission as training young men and women to walk with Christ in the 21st century. And we want to stay focused on that and not let, and I think more, not just technology, but any tools that we use, methodologies, our approach in the classroom, all of that, if it's not contributing to the mission, if it's not accomplishing our purpose, then we should reevaluate it.
Absolutely.
So those are the kind of things that I learned in my IT career that
Yeah.
I brought to this. I was at one company where I was with for about 7 years. We did object-oriented development, and there was a lot of in the mid-90s. There was a lot of new methodologies that were coming out from companies like Rational. I learned that, and I taught it. So me and another gentleman in the company, we would go around to the different locations and we would teach classes in object-oriented development, use case analysis, and various things. And so I kept, the connection with teaching. Of course, my wife has been a elementary school teacher for 25 years. And so our children went to private school, public Christian schools. And so I've always had that connection with education. And loved teaching, taught Sunday school, as you said, taught in 2 Bible institutes. And so just kind of all of that together came together to help lead the school. And I think is what's been a good direction for our school.
Yeah, sounds so practical. Those are all practical applications. Okay, so this is maybe a huge loaded question, but you have kind of been with technology for many years. You've seen a lot of things, I guess, come and go over the years. You've seen the impacts, you've seen changes. What are your thoughts? I don't know if you can boil this down quickly or not, but on the current state of technology. So now we even have AI on the scene. It just seems like technology is just rolling so fast. And I think technology is always on the move, but right now
Right.
it just seems so fast. What are your thoughts on what's happening right now?
Well, this is something a lot of us in technology have talked about often. If you go back, 50, 60 years, technology, the pace of change has been increasing.
Mhm.
And a computer that's 3 or 4 years old, it's ancient.
Yeah, it's old.
Um,
Mhm.
and so, but now in the last 15 years or so, since 2010 timeframe, that acceleration has increased exponentially, and the curve is just going upwards towards almost like a rocket blast. And AI is even taking that to a whole new level, which is, as a computer programmer, as computer scientist, you're always having to reinvent yourself because there are new languages, new methodologies, everything's changing every year. And so we were always having to learn. But now it's to the place that you hear people in the industry talk about the fear of being able to catch up, to be able to keep up.
Interesting. Mm.
So it's I think AI is a game changer because now you don't have just the technicians and the engineers and the software architects contributing to the change. Now you have AI systems, machine learning, and they're contributing to the change. And they work 24/7, day and night, at a much faster pace than the human mind can. So it's
Yeah, so true.
a brave new world, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I guess kinda tied to that, then what impact do you see technology having on this generation? Like we said, these students, they don't know a time without it. I remember my dad worked for AT&T, and I remember when we got our first computer because he had to log in to do work at home, and I mean, it was big. It sat in, a corner of
Right,
one of our rooms, and,
right,
I remember we have to stop at payphones when his pager went off because he was on call, and then when he got a cell phone, big old bag. Like, we remember all that. These students don't remember that.
right.
This is all that they've ever known. So what are your thoughts on that? What's the impact of technology on this generation?
Well, this is one of the things that I really have concerns about today,
Mhm.
because I see it in our classroom. I see it in our students. They've connected to social media, and I think that term is ironic because it's not social, and it has taken them away from those personal connections with their parents, with their friends,
Absolutely.
and they are making connections, so to speak, online and on the screen, but that's not a real personal connection. That's not AI, and AI is really doubling down on that. It's has the potential to make it even worse. And I recently watched an interview with a psychologist who was talking about. He said that an AI therapist could be much better than the average therapist. And I'm thinking, I don't think that's a good way to go. I think that's kind of a
No.
dark path.
Yeah.
And we have people that are experimenting with AI chatbots that become your friends and your companions. And I just think we have the potential of going to a very dark place with that. We talk about student engagement. How do we get students to be engaged in their learning? Because I say this to my teachers all the time. You can be a great teacher and you can have the most impactful lesson, and you can deliver it in the most effective, dynamic way in an empty classroom, and nobody's learning because students learn. We teach, but students have to learn. They have to be engaged, and
Right.
I believe I can take if I have 15 minutes with a student, one on one, with them really engaged and interested and asking questions and responding. And if I can deliver passionately to them a message one on one for 15 minutes, that's going to have more impact than a whole week of class time when they're not engaged.
Right.
We've got to figure out how do we make that personal connection and keep it. And we can use technology to help us do that. That's great. But I fear that social media and AI right now, the impact it's having on students is not a good direction.
Definitely true. I like how you said social media is not social. It's not like the devices are alienating, our students, that their face is in the screen. That's where their friend is. Like you said, they're becoming best friends with bots, that
Right.
they go to them for their input of what should they wear and who should they talk to and how should they deal with a friend problem. That's not how God made us to be.
Right.
Let's keep down that path of technology in the classroom. A phrase that I've heard you use is technology with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered if you could talk about that a little bit more, because I know that's an intentional phrase. So what do you mean when you say that?
It is. So, and I look at technology just like any other tool, any methodology would choose, if a curriculum that we choose, reading material. I mean, we evaluate any reading material or curriculum that comes into our school for appropriateness. We ask questions like, is it going to teach a biblical worldview? Is it age appropriate? Is there any inappropriate content or something that would be dangerous or negative for our children to be exposed to? So all of those questions that we would ask about curriculum or reading or anything like that, we should ask those same questions about technology.
Yeah.
Getting ready to implement something new, ask the why question. Why are we doing this? What is it going to accomplish? Is it going to make us more efficient? Is it going to make us more effective? Is it meeting a real need? Or is it a solution looking for a problem? Recently, I was looking at, we have a student information system, and I discovered in that student information system a feature that I didn't know about, where you could automate check-in and check-out of students. So if you come in late, they're checking in, they can leave, they can check out. And so I started playing with that and looking at what it would take to implement it. I thought this might be helpful, might save us time. And as I did it, I realized it was a little bit clunky, and just, I said, this really isn't going to save us anything. It's not going to contribute to anything. And sometimes a pen and paper is just better.
Right. Yeah. Technology is not always the best tool.
Right. So I think those are the things we have to keep in mind. Ask those questions before you implement something, and know why you're doing it. Do it
Yeah.
with purpose. And if it doesn't contribute to the mission, we just don't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like how you mentioned evaluating it like we do everything else. Somehow it seems like technology gets the golden ticket or the free pass sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, it's technology. That'll be great. But yet we pour over everything else evaluating it. So I like how you pointed that out. Just it needs to be evaluated like everything else. I want to hop back to, you started to mention a little bit about student engagement. So I wondered, what are your thoughts on the impact of technology on student engagement? I mean, we know if we say, okay, everybody pull out your iPads, we're going to do a Kahoot, all of a sudden the whole room wakes up and away they go.
Yep.
But genuine student engagement, can we go back and revisit that just a little bit and talk about how technology plays into that?
Sure. And I think technology has, there's a great opportunity to use it to enhance that engagement. As you said, they pull out the iPad or something. Of course, they're enamored with, they like their phones,
Oh, yes.
they like their iPads. I asked a question with our high school students last year: if you could change anything in the school, what would be the one thing that you would change? And every one of them said, we want our phones. We don't allow them to have their phones. And so that was of all the things, that was the one thing that was a burning
Probably
desire.
no surprise.
So those devices, they've grown up with them, they're interested in, so we can use that to our advantage and use them in a way that helps to engage them. But we have to just make sure it's engaging them in the right way to actually learn, and not just to be a distraction.
Right.
And sometimes I think the screen time, and I'm reminded of Brian Smith's presentation at the Exchange Conference, and that clicking, just keep hitting the pleasure button. If the device becomes a distraction, then it's no longer enhancing engagement.
Absolutely.
We want to use it, I think, sparingly. We just this past year, we put new smart panels in all of our classrooms.
Nice.
And of course, we're using the BJU Press Trove and those tools that BJU Press makes available. And teachers are making really good use of those and some of the teacher resources that are available. And I have students that if I show a short video, I mean, I can teach the lesson and I can teach the same thing that they're going to see on the video. But a short video that maybe has some illustrations and some graphics, it'll just capture their attention and they'll watch it. But I try to keep those short. I did a 45-minute video in a class the other day and I lost them about 15 minutes
Isn't
in.
it amazing how their attention span has gone like this? Even
Yeah.
a video can't keep their attention.
So using those sparingly, I think, and using those in a way that captures their attention, maybe makes them think a little bit, and then take that. And I go back to something Jeff Keaton said. He talks about passion. If we as teachers don't have a passion for what we're teaching, we can't expect our students to care. And so I say use technology sparingly to try to capture their attention, to try to maybe just get them to perk up and pay attention, but remember that attention span, and then make sure you have a passion for what you're teaching. We have to care and the students have to see that.
Yeah, that's great. I love the term appropriate screen time keeps popping in my mind while you were talking too. And I know there's all this push for no screen time. And so they're trying to take it out of schools, but at home they're on their screens all the time. It goes back to that appropriate screen time because they are going to have technology with them in their next phase of life. They're going to have it. They're going to be using it. They need to be taught the right way. And what an amazing opportunity we have in Christian schools to teach them the right way to use it. The other thing I was thinking about right along those same lines, we're working through some AI lessons and things that we're creating to go in our materials. And we're talking about the value of technology and the tendencies, that result from technology, and still keeping in that element of hard work and your own thinking and critical thinking. Well, technology can do so much. And I love what you said about just limiting it. It doesn't need to be used for everything. And, thinking of their attention span, it's not just the shiny tool in the room. It has to be the appropriate tool and the best tool for the job. So I thought that was great. Okay. I know we're running close on time, but I want to ask one more question here. So you're a techie person. So I'm going to play devil's advocate just a little bit here. So what are your thoughts? And you've kind of already maybe given this away, but what are your thoughts on balancing tech with non-tech? You already mentioned just a second ago, use it in only the most appropriate ways, obviously. But what are your thoughts on that as tech continues to grow and increase and just really become, something they're a part of every day? It's a part of their lives. How do we find that balance between tech and non-tech?
Sure. And I go back to something, you said in the AI seminar I went to last summer, we can ask, what can AI do? And then what should AI do? So we think of lesson plans. We are on a 4-day school week at our school. We did this 2 years ago. And so at the beginning of this year, and this year, we pretty much went wholesale conversion of all of our high school to BJU Press curriculum. And we're just thrilled with it. It's been a real help. Our teachers love it, and it's working very well. But we had 4-day school week, and the curriculum is really laid out, 5-day pacing. So we were able to use ChatGPT and specify a BJU Press teacher edition subject and say, give us a set of lesson plans paced for a 4-day school week. And in 15 minutes, we've got all the lesson plans, and it didn't create new lesson plans. It's coming from BJU Press curriculum, the curriculum we specified, but it did that for us in 15 minutes.
And how did it turn out? Was it good?
It was good. I mean, it wasn't complete, but it was a good outline, and it gave us the pacing that we needed.
Nice.
A teacher, it might have taken them several weeks to do that.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's a good use of AI. And even creating a lesson plan, maybe you don't have a curriculum or something, or you don't have a lesson plan. Asking AI to create a lesson plan is probably appropriate. But if we think AI is going to do all the work for us, and we're not studying the lesson, and we're not passionate about the lesson, and we don't know it and can deliver it in a way that shows we really know the subject and care about it, I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
We can't, AI can't be the teacher. And I've said this to teachers. I said, AI can't look in the eyes of a student and see the bewildered look they have when they don't understand something and respond to that. And I tell our teachers, and I've said this many times since I've been administrator, the most important thing that happens at Victory Christian School is the interaction between a teacher and a student in the classroom, in the gym, in the hallway, at car line, that personal connection where you are interacting with them and it's a positive encounter because that establishes a relationship. And without those relationships, we can't reach them. They're not going to be engaged. If they don't, I hear this all the time from parents. If the teacher doesn't care, the students pick up on it and they know it.
It's very
So,
true.
so let AI, and one other thing, I talk about communication in two ways. There's communication that informs, and there's communication that transforms. Communication that needs to inform schedules, calendars, upcoming events at school. If AI and technology can help us automate those things and make us more efficient and redeem time for us, great. But the personal connections you have with students, that's the communication that transforms lives. Technology can't do that for you.
That's so true. Yeah, and we can't sacrifice that, for the
Right,
cool tool that's out there. We have to
right.
hang on to that opportunity to speak into lives, to impact students. Yes, you hit the nail on the head for sure. Doug, it is always just a pleasure speaking with you. You are a wealth of experience and expertise. So thank you so much for being willing to share with us today. It was just great having you on the show.
Well, thank you, Jen. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me again.
Listeners, thank you for joining us as well. I hope this has been helpful and just really given you some good insights and some things to think about as well. Just a reminder, go to teachereditionpodcast.com to learn more about the show and to submit your questions for upcoming episodes. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media. Now it's time to get back to your day. It's not just any day. Every day in the classroom is your day to impact and inspire through God's power, also through His grace working in you. Now, go do what God has called you to do.